Hi everyone, Zoe here. Now for today's video on survival mistakes, what I really want to do is look at making a stove. Obviously I have one in my kitchen, but that's not something I can drag outside and use for bushcrafting purposes. And I can't just make a roaring campfire in my back garden every time I want to display something on video for you guys, because of issues with the neighbours, issues with local bylaws. It's a smoke-free city, I'm not allowed to. So I wanted to look at stoves, and there are many out there. You can buy commercially made stoves for bushcrafting and backpacking purposes. But Firebox are an obvious brand that springs to mind, but there's also a big community of homemade stoves, from rocket stoves to hobo stoves to tin can stoves to alcohol. There's a whole world of wonderful people that are out there making some really ingenious things. But one that caught my eye was the IKEA Hobo stove. And if you Google that, you will see literally hundreds of videos of different variations people have made this. And I'm going to have a go at making one of my own. So the main ingredient is one of these. This is a stainless steel IKEA cutlery strainer. The idea is you stick it next to your sink, you do your pots, you put it in there, so you don't end up with a mound of cutlery. Doesn't bother me, I'm fine with a mound of cutlery. And I actually had the foresight once to actually remember to keep the label on. So this one's from IKEA. This cost me £4. I'm not very good with currency conversions, so up here we're going to have the American currency and Canadian. So that's relatively cheap. Obviously the whole hobo issue and naming, probably a little bit thankless, but the idea is that these individuals are very good with resources and they'll make anything into something they need. Because if we call it hobo, we look at bindles and boxcars and hobo pennies and positive imagery of hobos. Not the depression, the homelessness, the alcohol issues, the drug issues, the victims of horrific murders. Let's call it hobo. It's all shiny and has a mystique and a culture to it. Anyway, I'm going to make this into a stove I can use for bushcrafting. Now I've preached at you all. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to add some legs to this, because if I just sit that down, I can't get airflow through the bottom. And the idea is that I'm going to have fire in there, and my coals and my embers are going to be contained. The heat's going to get reflected off all the stainless steel, so I'll use up less fuel, and that airflow, that convection will mean that I have hot fire using less materials. But I really want legs. I took a trip to the local hardware store, and what I got there was I came back with some 6mm nuts, some 70mm by 6mm bolts, and some 6mm washers. So this is my basic setup. I've got the bolt with a nut partially down the end and a washer on top. And the idea is I'm going to take one of these holes at the bottom of the stove, I'm going to pop that in the bottom, and I'm going to secure it by putting another washer on top and then adding tension with the final nut. And in theory that should mean I can have legs that elevate the pot off the ground. So let's give that a go. So there we go, it's done. It's by no means a work of art, I appreciate that, but I've not actually used a welder. I just used some hardware supplies and I've got the function I wanted. It's a piece of kit at the end of the day, it doesn't have to look pretty. So admittedly it was a bit fiddly to put my hand in and turn the nut one way while turning the exterior nut the other, but it works. I've got the function I wanted. It now sits, airflow can circulate underneath, and it keeps my embers and my coals hot because of that airflow. Now the next job is the job of no return, or as I've come to call it, the make sure you filmed everything you need to film because continuity is about to go to pot job. I need to cut a hole in the front. That's where my fuel's going to go. Now it seems conventional wisdom, I'm just going to cut through all of these and link these together, maybe across the side here. So let's see how I'm going to cut holes into this stainless steel. Tell from this piece of metal I took out of it. So when I'm putting fuel in, I'm going to want something a bit bigger. So I'm going to extend it to these holes here and over here. And I'm probably going to be using tin snips for that, just because it's easier, and using that square file was a little bit exhausting. And then I'm just going to tidy up the edges with the work sharp. So let's make this hole a bit bigger. Now tin snips are great. I think everyone should have these. They make cutting paracord especially really good fun because you get some really straight cuts. But obviously, they're made for cutting light metal. Something like this. Now, I'm going to say these aren't going to be perfect cuts by any stretch of imagination. But, as you can see, it makes cutting a lot easier than using that file. Although I may have to do it to get through these ones, but let's have a look. So, another piece of metal. Some very, very rough edges to knock down. I've just spent a couple of minutes cleaning it up with the tin snips. It's still not perfect, some of the edges are still very jagged, and it's not quite equal all the way around, but it's a lot bit better than it was. As you can tell from the minute pieces of metal I'm taking off, it's some pretty fine adjustments. But I'm going to go clean it up at the edge, because it's still very rough. And then this little monster will be a bit safer for my fingertips. Grr, no it won't. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make a shelf. I want a shelf just to sit here, so my wood can sit directly on top of the shelf without a chance of stuffing out the embers, which can fall through and stay heating up nicely. Now it's probably not needed, but it's something I want to include. To make that, I'm going to be using one of these. I've got two of these. These are a power supply unit fan cover. So you'd screw this onto your terminal and you won't be able to get your fingers to any fans. Now these are made from, on one side, just concentric circles, and the other side, with the 4 posts, is just a piece of steel wire, and it's basically all soldered together. Now, I've only got 2 of these, so if this goes really badly wrong on camera, there's no going back apart from buying some more. So what I want to do is just want to take out these. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. That fell down. Look at my eye. See what damage I've caused there. And again. I'll find that in about 6 years. I can do that 2 more times. And then 1 final time. Now I'm pretty sure this is probably weakening the integrity of this, seeing as that's what's keeping most of these together. But what I have ended up with is hopefully something I can put this screw through. Now I've just had to take the nuts off this, but hopefully my terrible screwing has meant that now fits through nicely. So I can put a washer there for it to sit on, grope around to the side of me, put another washer on top. There's not quite enough coverage there, so I'm going to have to just turn the screw a bit. See, that's popping out in my finger. Get the other nuts, put that on top. Now that's my basic idea, is to have that come through the bottom hole of there and sit roughly where the monster's mouth is. Now I need to get rid of these posts on the side, or else it's not going to fit inside the stove. So let's get those off quickly using the tin snips again. Make sure I'm nice and lined up. I'm going to have to do one of these at some point without flinching, and that wasn't that one. Last but not least, readjust my hand position. And there we go. Now hopefully, because these things aren't perfect circles, it should fit like that. So now I've got to take it apart again. So I'm going to put this through the bottom hole. That's gone straight through the one washer. The other one hasn't quite sat on top of it. That's also gone straight through the middle of that shelf. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is just quickly put this nut on the top, just secure it in place while I talk to you guys. So if I wanted to, that'd do it. There's not much coverage there, but there's quite a bit, but I'm going to try and make it level with the mouth slightly. So that requires me having to twist one of these for more coverage to raise it up. So I just wanted to experiment with whether I can put one of these posts into a slot. So I got a tin out, just with a file, just put a small slot in. So in theory, if I was to come along, it just about locks in place. Now it might need to be a bit deeper, but you can see if I had that in 4 places, it's actually more secure than me just resting that on top. We'll find out. So after a couple of attempts at making file marks, including one mistake, should have measured a straight line, I basically pushed a couple of these in at the various points. I've only done 2, but with it pushed all the way in, it's pretty secure. How cool is that? 2 will do, apparently. One final time. So there we go. We got one there, one there. Got a stove. Need to tighten some of the screws. And also, because of the way it fits in the actual concentric circle side, it sticks up first. So it requires a bit of jiggery and pokery. Just applying some pressure. And there we go. So that's the little monster almost done. I just need to tighten up a few of these, saw off the middle one, which is the one that keeps our ember tray in, and maybe, just maybe, does he need eyes? I think he might need eyes. So, in the woods, coming to test out this stove design, and look what I come across. Oh, this ridge. Basically fire. And this really ambitious falling down shelter. Check it out. You got a crossbeam. Lash to trees. A couple more cross beams. What I'm going to assume is probably a lean-to roof. Look how ambitious this was. Look how absolutely huge it is. What a really, really cool shelter. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider liking the video on YouTube and sharing it. Check out the 5 Mistakes Facebook group and also the 5 Mistakes Twitter feed. And as ever, get out there and do the impossible every day. Thank you.